Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, let's discuss about this MVC design pattern. So MVC is one of the most applicable application designing pattern. So the MVC stands for a model view and controller. So what is this model view and controller, and why it has become one of the most a standard design pattern for actually building enterprise level applications. So let's see how it actually operates. So as you know that any HTTP request, it has to be handled by some sort of a web server, using some sort of a web logic. So the entire logic for handling the request is going to be present in a component called as controller. And then so we have to present whatever the output that we got in terms of HTML, and maybe using some other technology called as JSP, which we're gonna see later in this video. So we have to view. So there is a way, there is some way through which we have to make sure that, we're gonna project the output to the user. So we are going to call that component as view. And then and since the entire controlling is actually maintained by the controller, so it's not possible that we can store and manipulate everything in our own local DB. So we need to access another uh, database, and we need to fetch some data. We need to do some sort of procedures on it, and everything that we do onto the database will be managed by something called as a model. And uh, and here we're going to do some, there is something called as ORM, which is the object relational mapping. So all these things are going to be managed by this model. And uh, and and the view is nothing but it is only concerned with what the how the a web page was supposed to look like, along with the output that I'm supposed to print. And the controller is the main part which is going to control all the interactions uh, of the HTTP request. So this pattern, it became, a widespread one, as it has everything that is needed for any sort of application. It could be a small application, or it could be a very large scale application. For any sort of application, it actually became like a standard that there has to be some sort of controller which will manage everything. It is not going to do a lot of processing. It is only going to manage things. And then we have to have some a view component, which is going to manage how the output is going to be rendered onto the page. So it has to be managed by some component, and all the database interactions, and some sort of database processing, so they have to manage by some component. So this structure seems to be, a well managed, a well performing structure, because uh, you know so we have the a division of components, we have the a separation of concerns. So this pattern works, with any language. It's not so it is language agnostic. So, and why are we using this pattern in Java, and how to implement this pattern in Java? So let's see. So in Java, the controller part is actually done by the servlet program, and the view is managed by. So we usually we can use the HTML pages, but there is something called as the JSP pages, which we're going to see later. And then we have some module which is going to work with the database. So we can call it as a Java Bean, and we have some sort of APIs like the Java Persistent API, which is going to work closely with the a data store. So in this way, using the servlets, we are going to have a sort of control, what kind of outputs has to be present, and if the a request has to be forwarded, if how to handle and process the request, and how to call the a model to actually bring some sort of data from the database. So all of these things are going to be controlled by this controller servlet. And then we have the view, which is the JSP page. So it is nothing but a Java embedded HTML page. We can sort of see it in such a way. So a JSP page is also going to be a closely interacting with the model, as in the most of the cases, we are supposed to fetch some sort of data from the data store, and we have to present it onto the GUI. So that's why the view is more concerned with the uh, Java model part, and then the model itself is just a software program which is only concerned with the database and everything. So we can see that there is actually a separation of concerns between the Servlet and the Java Bean model. So usually, when we write some small programs, so we try to put all this JDBC interactions within the servlet, right? So it makes it very uh, tightly coupled. So if they are so in this case we have literally decoupled, all these things, right? So all the browser interactions are going to be managed by the view, and all the database interactions are going to be managed by this model, and the servlet is going to control all of these interactions. So if we were to change the something from the database, if you want to uh, make another database, or if you want to migrate from a one database system to other, so you can easily do that by only changing the code of the model. And if you want the browser to support some other things, if you want to use some a different front end, so you can only change whatever is there in the view. Or if you want to change the business logic, you just have to change the controller. So in this way we also achieved this decoupling as well, right? So let's see how the browser works. So as we discussed in this way, so the browser is going to call the a HTTP request is going to be called to the controller. So the controller is actually responsible for managing which component has to be called next. So it is going to call the view if it's only supposed to print something onto the console. Even before that, it is going to see if it requires anything from the model. It is going to call the model, and it is going to send the data onto the view, and the view is actually concerned with presenting the data. So it is going to present all this in terms of a HTML page or a JSP page, and it is going to send the response to the browser. So this is how the MVC pattern works. And then okay, let's so as we have already seen how the servlet works, and we have seen how the JDBC works, and we know how the HTML works as well. But so let's see what this JSP is, and how is it different from a servlet, and how is it able to make a front end work using the HTML. So a JSP is written using some sort of a special syntax. So using the syntax, we're going to create a JSP file, and that JSP file is not going to execute the way it was. It is going to be translated into a servlet file, and then that servlet file is going to be compiled into a servlet class. And now we have a servlet class which is going to run in a very similar way the servlet was running before. So it is going to have its so the methods are going to be a bit different. So it is going to have the JSP init method instead of init. It is going to have the JSP service instead of service. It is going to have the JSP destroy instead of destroy. And then this is going to execute the way it is supposed to go. And here we can see that so the JSP file is actually providing us a way to actually integrate the servlets with some sort of with some sort of a front end a front end integration, like we can integrate HTML and the Java servlet code into a single file, and make sure that it is actually compiled into a servlet file so that it can be executed by the web container. So JSP is a high level API that you can that you can use to manage the front end part of the application using the a web container. So let's see what are these different syntaxes that we use to create this JSP. So we have the JSP declaration tags and the expression tags, scriptlet tags, and the comments. So the comments are not important. So the scriptlet tag starts with the syntax. So this is very much similar to what the HTML tags look like. So for expression tag, we use this equal symbol, and then the scriptlet tag is just this person symbol. So inside this tags you can write all this Java code. So whatever the code that we write within a servlet's a servlet's a service method, so all those statements can be put in inside these tags, and these tags these tags can be embedded into a, a HTML file. So since they can be embedded into a HTML file, so here we are making sure that some sort of servlet logic is going to be executed, and it will be presented in terms of a HTML document which will be presented in the front end. So in this way, the JSP is going to work as a view in our MVC pattern. So it is going to make the life of Adolf easy by integrating the servlet logic without uh, 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 explicitly depending on the HTML for delivering the front end, right?